Welcome to the Joyful Mud Puddles podcast, support you can count on in your parenting journey. Today, I am thrilled to have Lindsey Casselman with us. Lindsey has received a Bachelor of Arts from Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario, followed by a Bachelor of Education from York University in Ontario. At York, she was accepted into the Urban Diversity Teachers Education Program, which trains students to become teachers who emphasize equality, diversity, and social justice in their methodology. Lindsey has 2 children and has been homeschooling them on their hobby farm, and oh my goodness, and a bee apiary. I love that. In Kingston, Ontario for the past 4 years. Lindsey is very active in the homeschooling community and enjoys planning events, organizing field trips, and creating homeschooling content. She's passionate about helping people discover the joys of home education. Lindsey, thank you so much for taking your time to join us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting.
So I'm always very curious, especially because I was a teacher before I was homeschooling. What changed? What made you switch over to homeschooling?
I think we had always had homeschooling in the back of our minds. We strongly considered it when my oldest was ready to enter JK, and then we just sort of chickened out, put him in school. He did 4 years, JK, SK 1 and 2, and my daughter, who's younger, did JK and SK. And by that time, we had bought our little farm, and we sort of were more comfortable, I don't know, as parents, more confident. And we started discussing the homeschool thing again. And one thing that for me was that my son, who was 8 and in grade 2, was already really disenfranchised with the school system and with learning. You know, every day was a struggle to get him on the bus, and every snow day was yay, you know, and he's 8 and living for the weekend already, and feeling like school is bad, learning is no fun. And I hated to see that natural curiosity and you know, kids are just sponges when they're so young and so eager to learn, to see that already squashed when he was only in 2nd grade and had still so far to go. So that was a big thing that motivated us to try homeschooling, and we tried it for a year and never looked back.
I love hearing that. Like, everyone's like, oh, I tried it. No, we never went back.
Yeah, everybody the first year is like, just in case they have to go back, but then no, they don't go back.
There's a lot of families who are, obviously with the global pandemic and everything, that are homeschooling this year. And some of them are trying to keep up with the curriculum, just in case.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you have for those families who are trying to, you know, because once you get into homeschooling, you can branch off and do your own thing. But what about those families who are trying to keep to the curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been trying to advise people to sort of, what are your long range plans? Because if you are for sure, you know, you're just working from home or whatever to make this work, and it's for sure a 1-year thing, then it probably is best for them to try to follow the Ontario curriculum and maybe purchase curriculum rather than writing their own, just for their sanity and for time saving. And, you know, I think unschooling is beautiful. I think there's so many different ways to homeschool, and it's great for families to find like what really fits with them. But if you are short-term 1-year homeschoolers and you know your kid's going back into the system next year, you're probably not doing them any favors by, you know, not sticking to that curriculum.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that they can just slip right in.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's also a good opportunity to, you know, back step a little bit if they have any areas that they have been struggling in, because the school will just push them to the next grade regardless. So, you know, if your kid's in grade 4, but you feel like they would benefit from redoing grade 3 math, especially last year with the shutdown and the strikes and everything, you know, then do that. Take that time, solidify those foundations rather than pushing higher academics on them. and they'll go back next year way better prepared than if you had sort of tried to push them through that grade they're supposed to be in. So really like work on that foundation.
That's some really fantastic advice, because a lot of parents are like, okay, but this is the grade my child is in. But yeah, taking this year to fill in those gaps and really backtrack a little so that they're stronger will help them totally when they're moving forward with everything.
Yeah, and realizing that if they're in grade 4 or grade 5, that you don't have to do everything grade 5. You know, people ask my son what grade he's in, and he'll say, which subject do you mean? You know, because he's, you know, by his birth year, he's in grade 6, but he's doing grade 7 math and grade 6 social studies and some grade 4 science with his sister, and, you know, like it's all over the place. So you don't have to, you're not stuck in that grade box. If they have strength in one area and weaknesses in another, then you can really mix and match.
I love that, because yeah, my kids, I don't even know what grade they're supposed to be in. But I count and guess all the time. So you have 2 children. How do you manage doing those 2 grades at once? You know,
it's actually not that hard. I have found, I'm lucky that my kids are very close in age. They're only 2 years apart. But I think people don't realize that homeschooling doesn't take all day. So you can break it up any way you want. You know, if you're doing 2 hours per kid, you can do 1 kid and have the other one have free time and then switch, and you're still done before lunch. Or what we do is, because everything takes so much less time, the school system would do 2 social studies and 4 science units a year. So we do 4 social studies and 8 science units a year, and they both do each other's. So they, like when they were in grade 2 and grade 4, they both did grade 2 and grade 4 science and social. And now this year they're in grade 4 and grade 6. So my son's going to get a refresher on the grade 4 that he did when it was his year. And my daughter, because she was in grade 2, she was maybe not picking up all of the grade 4 stuff. So now she's going to do it fully, but she already has that, a little bit of that foundation. So it doesn't hurt them to do things over again. And we have never, ever run out of time to do everything.
that's a really neat way of looking at it. I know for myself, we had a couple years where they were, you know, doing a repeat of a topic. And yeah, you pick up on different things, and using your prior knowledge makes you, you know, propels you forward, and you can chase a few more rabbit holes. And
yeah, absolutely. And they, you know, they forget some parts, so they'll be, oh, I remember that, but wasn't there, you know, and you sort of expand on things. And a lot of things they'll say like, oh, can we do that activity again that we did, you know, when we did this last year or whatever. So they're, as they grow and get older, their capabilities change, and it can go from simplified to a lot bigger, right? You just base it around their age and what they're up to.
That is a lot of fun. For my boys, we combine them, and I just teach them both the same thing for the most part at the same time. So we do a lot of unit studies. Yep. And then I try to throw everybody in at the same time, which sometimes work. I don't know. We've got a 5-year-old in the mix. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're mostly splitting just math, mostly math. They'll do like, I'll go through the lesson with my oldest, and then I set him to do the work. And because he's older, so he's a little bit more independent, he can start on the work. And then I'll do the lesson with my daughter, who's younger, and then set her on the work. And then I can help whoever needs help if they need help. But then everything else we pretty much do together at the same time.
That just makes it a whole lot more fun too, because you're a family. So instead of, you know, spending time together is a big value for a lot of families that want to be doing this, instead of having them all separated and you're just running around checking in with everybody. So I love that you guys do a lot together. Yeah. How then do you manage your time to be able to get other things done with your day, like the chores or the nice to have electives that you feel like you're supposed to be doing, like the art and the music and the French and the everything? How do you manage your time with that?
Well, we do a lot of activities, maybe too much. Sometimes I'm like, we need to socialize less and do more academics because if field trips and whatever, and I'm always like, yes, let's do it all. So I have a slight problem with over scheduling myself, but we still manage, we do school, we start school at 9, we're done by lunch. And then after lunch, the kids do their chores. I do some of my houseworky chores. And then we have either free time, everybody goes and does their own thing. Or if we have a field trip or something like that, then we go do that as well. And like you mentioned in my bio, we have a hobby farm and a bee apiary. So we have a lot of things on the go, but we still get it all done. And it's nice, as the older your kids get, the more helpful they are as well. So the more they can be part of how the whole family unit runs, rather than they're at school all day and they have no idea what mom does or does not get done during the day. I can say in the morning, like, guys, we really need to get some laundry done today because, we're on our last shirt or whatever. and it's like, it's more collective and it's more a family unit thing where we all are contributing and we all sort of take those tasks on together.
I love that. I'll ask you about socializing.
Yeah.
And then
socializing is the big question.
Oh yeah, especially now. And then I was also going to ask you about the curriculum that you make.
Oh yeah. So socializing, I keep telling everybody, no one knows what socializing is going to look like for homeschoolers or for public schoolers because of COVID, right? When everything shut down in March, we were just as isolated and stir crazy as the public schoolers. We used to say like, oh, we have a home day this week. And that's like a day of the week where we don't have somewhere that we have to be. And then COVID hit and they're all home days. So it wasn't easier for homeschoolers because we're isolated all the time. That's not how we live our lives. We do tons of activities. Now that said, I would love to say to people homeschooling next year, like, oh, like come to swimming lessons with us, come to gymnastics, come on these field trips. I don't know if any of that's going to run. But I do know, I can see from the back to school plans that going to school isn't going to be a social like haven either, distancing and masks and cohorts, and like that's going to be tough for kids as well. And if homeschool swimming lessons don't run, probably regular swimming lessons aren't running either. So either way, you're going to find yourself in a similar boat, and that's COVID's fault, not homeschooling.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want families to take away from all of this, is that this is not normal homeschooling.
Exactly. And if you have a hard year this first year because your kids are always home and they're driving you crazy, like that doesn't mean that homeschooling doesn't work for you and your family. It just means that, COVID sucks and it sucks for all of us. And it's like I said, don't put that on homeschooling. That's COVID's fault.
Yes, we need like a big sign for that one. It's like, this is COVID's fault. It's not homeschooling. Because I know a lot of people say, well, we'll give it a try. And I'm like, I really hope your try and your year is successful, because it might give you a bad thoughts towards this. But yeah, it is challenging, because as homeschoolers, we are out a lot more than people think we are. It's great that there's so many events in the community, and I know you organize some too usually. So do I, and it's just going to look a lot different this year. But.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're already like, I usually organize our not going back to school picnic that we have every year on the Tuesday after Labor Day, when everyone else is their first day of school. We always go to the beach, like our whole homeschooling group. And we're probably not doing that this year. So it's like our first casualty of the year. But yeah, there'll be lots of unfortunately lots of cancellations and stuff.
So do you have any tips for families? Like what's working for you? Do you guys have any social plans this year at all?
No, we really don't. Like we're being very cautious. We have like vulnerable elderly people in our family that we would like to be able to keep seeing. So we have our 10-person bubble and that's it. And you know, we're kind of waiting for school to go back and see how the numbers are and how things progress. And I'm hopeful that, you know, in January we can get back to all our sports and stuff like that. But I mean, no one really knows. We have to just wait and see.
Yeah, that's true. For us, we've have a small, like 3 families that we know what they're up to and who they're seeing. So we're seeing maybe 3 families.
Yeah.
Every so often, so that, and that's mostly like outdoor park things that they're doing. And then we've been doing Zoom calls, which I'm finding is very
my kids love the Zoom calls.
Yeah, it's good or bad.
They don't use Zoom, they use the Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you talking to your friend or are you guys just like putting your faces on yourself, like filters on yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror? I'm not sure what's going on here, but everyone seems to be having fun. So
as long as they're having fun, we've been doing Kids Messenger, and then my boys, we've also kept our co-op going on Zoom. Yeah. And we had our last meeting today, so it's been interesting.
Well, that's good.
You have been able to take your teaching career before homeschooling and actually using that to help other homeschoolers. And I'd love to hear more about that because I know you create a lot of curriculum as well.
Yeah, so I've always written most of my own curriculum. And I started in March, I started the COVID homeschooling Facebook group to be a place for all the new homeschoolers to come and get advice and have a bit of community. And I started sharing on there just iPhone screenshots of my handwritten unit plans that I had done in the past. And just to show people like, this is one way, like this is what it can look like. You know, it's easy to put together more or less, like this is an option for you. And through those, I got approached by Schoolio for publishing them. So now I've been turning them all into a full curriculum. Obviously my handwritten ones were like just for me, so a lot of jot form and things that would make sense to other people. So getting that all expanded out and written so that people can use it as a full curriculum. And then they threw in the brand new math the government released in June. So I went straight to like, okay, like people are going to want to stick to the Ontario curriculum because that's what I'm seeing in the Facebook group. Like everybody is worried about putting their kids back and keeping them on track. So if they're doing the new curriculum in schools, we want to be doing the new curriculum at home this year as well. So everything, all the math is brand new curriculum expectations. So it's been a lot of work, but I love doing it. So
you are such an incredible resource for families, and I'm definitely putting all that contact info in the show notes, especially for those who are local and in Ontario, because there really isn't that much Canadian curriculum available. Like you get bits and pieces, but people who are coming to homeschooling are like, okay, so where's this, you know, where's my package? What do I do?
Yeah.
And there isn't one. So
I know, I tell people when they're picking curriculum, there's so much curriculum out there to choose from. But if you want Canadian and secular, and then that narrows your choices down immensely immediately. And then if you want the new math, it boils down to almost nothing.
You.
yeah, I mean, I heard that Jump Math is releasing something new October, maybe they said, but I mean, nobody knew that the government was releasing it until they did. So everybody's scrambling a little bit, but probably teachers are as well, to figure it all out.
Yeah, exactly. This year has brought everybody together so much just to encourage and support one another, which is, it's a beautiful side effect of a terrible situation that we're all stuck in. But
yeah, and that's part of the reason why I started the Facebook group. Was I'm in a lot of homeschooling Facebook groups for parents to talk, and a bunch of them in March closed their doors. Like, we're not accepting any new members. The crisis schoolers are on their own, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, that's not very nice. So, and I will say that most of the groups that did that were American, mostly American based. I haven't seen any of the Ontario groups do that. But I thought, we'll just make a space that's specifically for people who want to homeschool for 1 year. And because you're going to give them a bit different advice than somebody who's switching to homeschooling completely. Though it would be nice if a bunch of them loved homeschooling and joined us.
I think there will be. I think everyone's seeing the possibilities and everything that's available.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else that you wanted to share with us? Any other advice?
Well, I can tell you that if you like my business page, which is Linden Tree Learning, I'm sure you'll put it in the bio, there's a 20% off coupon on there for people who've liked the page. So that's a bonus. And yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice I give people is to find your motivation, trust yourself. You can do this. You have been educating your child since the day they were born. You taught them to walk and talk and use the toilet and have good manners, and you can teach them social studies as well. You can. And just to be flexible. I see tons of beautiful color-coded schedules, and I have a beautiful color-coded schedule as well that I change every year, and I change sometimes multiple times throughout the year. So if you just go into your first year with the mindset that you will be flexible, you will be practical, you won't expect it to be perfect every day, you'll ride the waves, then you'll have a much better year, I think.
Thank you so much for your time and your advice, and for providing for families who are really looking for the resources which is exactly what we're here for at Joyful Mud Puddles too, just supporting families where they need it most.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And